One day, Tenya Iida was walking home from school when suddenly he's distracted by a loud boom. Looking up, he sees a blurry blue figure and watches as it crashes nearby. He runs to investigate and sees a blue person in a ditch, passed out. Iida quickly runs in and gets him out of the water. "Excuse me, are you okay?" The blue person then stood up and said, "Thanks for your help. My name is Sonic." "Well, Sonic, why were you falling from the sky?" "I was running away from Dr. Eggman, who were trying to steal these, the Chaos Emeralds." He shows them the emeralds. "Oh, those look amazing." "Oh, do you like them? Well, how about you hold on to them for me?" "Really? Well, why me?" "You seem like a pretty reliable guy, Iida. And besides, I'm only letting you hold them for the time being. Just be careful with these. Just one Chaos Emerald is strong enough to push back a Time Eater." "Wait, what's that?" "There's no time to explain. Tails needs my help. Just remember what I told you. I gotta go." Sonic then runs off, and as he's running, Iida witnesses him throwing what appears to be a golden ring that spreads out and opens into a portal, and watches him disappear into the light. Iida takes the Chaos Emeralds home and examines them wearing protective gloves. Truly amazing. I'm not sure what it is, but something feels influential about these gems. If they have such power, I wish I could experience it for myself. Iida stares into the gems, and he feels the need to touch them barehanded. Removing one of his gloves, he picks up a green Chaos Emerald and grips it tightly. What is this feeling? It feels like a burning yet cooling sensation is slithering throughout my body. I feel heavy and light. I feel... Suddenly, an uncomfortable sensation takes his body. Iida stood up from his chair, stumbling about, wanting to let go of the gem, but found that he was unable to. It was as if it was attached to his hand. "Run. I... I need to burn this energy." Without even thinking, Iida jumped from his second-story window and landed with no problem. Iida takes to the streets, and he runs down the street with the green gem shining its light in his hand. Suddenly, Iida picks up speed. He didn't know he had this potential to run this fast. Everything around him was a blur. He realizes that the sensation had subsided, and Iida runs for the hills. Literally. At one point, Iida ran so fast that he jumped off the hills and flew through the air as if he was flying. This feels amazing. And suddenly, Iida sees a very large hill, and he goes for it. When he reaches the top, he hurls himself with all of his might and flies even higher into the sky, with the light of his city shining just underneath him. As he flies through the air, he comes to a shocking realization. How am I gonna land? Uh-oh, I'm a goner. As Iida plummets back down to the ground, he panics as the wind brushes his hair and blows in his ear loudly. While falling, Iida notices that he's gliding towards an empty road, and this is where he gets an idea. "Okay, this might kill me, but it's better than doing nothing. Here I go." Iida then tucks his arms and his legs closer to his torso, and he lands on the ground. He rolls down the street, maintaining his speed. "How do I stop?" Suddenly, Iida rolls into a concrete wall, and then another, until he finally stops by unfolding himself. He is surprised to find himself unharmed. Nothing's broken. Looking down at the Chaos Emeralds, he was finally able to let it go. What are you? A few days pass. Iida had learned to maintain the powers of the Chaos Emeralds, and he gets the thought to use them to assist him in the entrance exams. But he thinks, wouldn't that be cheating? And I can't use someone else's property to achieve my goals. But then again, he didn't trust these power gems to me, and I should only use them in dire situations. Perhaps I should modify my suit so I may be able to hold them. Time passes, and the entrance exams had finally arrived. Iida brought the red Chaos Emerald for extra power. After the written exam, soon the robot test came, and Iida stands at the entrance and he sees the same green-haired boy from before about to bother this girl. He was about to stop him when suddenly the Chaos Emerald was then ripped from his grasp. Iida quickly turns around and sees a girl took the power gem from him. "Oh, this is so pretty. Where did you get this from?" "Ma'am, I humbly request that you return that to me." "Oh, but it's so pretty. Can I just look at it a little bit more?"
Sis, give it back now. I'm sorry, sir. She just really liked shiny things.
Iida gets the gem back, and then he turns around to see the green-haired boy talking to the brunette girl. President Mike then opens the doors up, and Iida races in and takes down a few robots in a matter of seconds. Everything was going great until a giant robot submerged. Iida was going to run off until he hears the sound of the girl screaming for help. Iida then grips the Chaos Emerald tightly and he shouted, "Chaos Control!" With the speed of sound, Iida then jumps into the air, curls into a ball, and repeatedly crashes into the robot in through one end and then out the other end over and over and over again, and he finishes it off by flying through its chest. Iida then stops and sees somebody punching it in the face. It was the same green-haired boy from before. And he witnesses him plummeting towards the ground. And Iida leaps into action to save his life. Iida lands on the ground safely with the green-haired boy in arms. "Hey, I saw the way you were falling. I went through something like that a few months ago." Time passes, and Iida was accepted into UA High, and eventually he goes to class and chews out Bakugo for putting his feet on the desk. Soon, Aizawa shows up and takes everyone outside, and Iida was the first to go, and during the session, he was doing pretty good. When everything was done, Aizawa tasked Iida to use the strength enhancement test again, but this time use the technique that he used on the zero-pointer. Before Iida got started, he informed Aizawa that he was able to do it with this Chaos Emerald. Otherwise, he'll name it as the Power Gem. "I see. You used a booster. Now, you know quirk enhancements are not only cheating, but they're also illegal, right? In other words, you'll be expelled and thrown in jail." Fear engulfs Iida, and Aizawa gives him an angered look. "Let me see it." Iida then hands over the power gem to his teacher, and he examines it. "So, this thing gives you a boost?" "Yes, sir." "But it's just a rock." "Yes, sir." "How does it work exactly?" "Usually when you touch it." "Well, I don't feel anything." "I certainly felt it the first time, sir. It literally burned me alive." "Iida, listen, if this thing is involved with your quirk, you could have just said that, and not waste my time." "Well, I'm sorry, Mr. Aizawa." "Well, make up for it by using its full power on the strength machine." "Yes, sir." And so, Iida destroys it, with one attack. The machine was unable to measure his strength. Aizawa, impressed, says, "Wow," and says, "That's the end of the school day. I'll see you all tomorrow." When the next day came, All Might was their teacher for that day. They were doing the Heroes vs. Villains test. And like in the original material, Iida teamed up with Bakugo as the villains, and Izuku and Uraraka were the heroes. Bakugo goes his own way, while Iida stays with the bomb with the white gem in hand. Soon, Uraraka shows up, their battle commences, and Iida uses the great speed of the Chaos Emerald to tie Uraraka to the pillar, putting her out of the competition. Izuku breaks too many bones to proceed, and the heroes lose. Iida is congratulated on his efforts and his beautiful display of power, and we move on to the next day, where Class 1A is on their way to the USJ, and the students of Class 1A were really curious about the Chaos Emeralds and wanted to know more about them. And Iida, with a little struggle, reaches into his bag and shows them all 7 Chaos Emeralds. The origins of these stones are unknown to me. The only thing I know is that they grant me a great enhancement of speed, along with this technique that allows me to become a human wrecking ball. They would ask him questions like, why are there seven of them, and do they each have their own individual abilities? To which Iida says he doesn't know why there's seven of them, and they all work the same, and that they only work for him for whatever reason. Soon, they arrive at the USJ and are greeted by 13, but then suddenly they are under attack by the League of Villains, and the doors close and they were unable to get them open. Iida powers up with the Chaos Emeralds, and he bursts through the door with his human wrecking ball form, and everyone gets outside and calls for help. The leader, Shigaraki, decided to take this fight outside to them. Like a wasp nest being tampered with, the villains ascended on the heroes, and everyone fights back. The battle was intense, and it could be anyone's fight at this moment. That is, until Iida uses the power of two Chaos Emeralds simultaneously, and in a flash, Iida took down multiple villains. Things were looking good for the heroes, until Shigaraki attacked Aizawa. Izuku Midoriya, wanting to help, steps in, but in the process, his left arm is decayed away. And at one point, the Nomu attacked the teachers, and Iida tries to fight back, only to get flung away and crash into a brick wall, breaking almost all of his bones in his body. As Iida laid there on the ground, he can still hear the sounds of his classmates screaming of struggles. I have to get up. They're all in danger. But I can't move. Why can't I move? I'm broken. Please, Chaos Emeralds, give me strength. Suddenly, the Chaos Emeralds levitated from Iida's backpack and started circulating around his body. He then levitated off of the ground as the gem's speed increased, and suddenly, Iida is engulfed in a brilliant light, and a golden aura shrouds his body, and he was healed from head to toe. But that is not the biggest thing that stood out about our speedster. The biggest thing that stood out about Iida was his once was blue hair, now a spiky golden hue. Iida stood there as everyone stared at him with bewilderment, and in the blink of an eye, Iida moves with greater speed than before, taking down every villain. Well, almost all of them. The Nomu still stood. Iida used the tuck and roll technique to take it down, and Shigaraki, seizing the opportunity, he escaped. When it was all over, Iida collapsed to the ground, his hair slowly turning back to the blue color it was before, and the Chaos Emeralds re-emerging from his body. After a few hours, Iida had woken up in the hospital, and he was thanked by his classmates for his heroism and incredible display of power. They tried to ask him what it was and why did his hair change color, but Iida couldn't remember what happened. And so they bring him his Chaos Emeralds, and they leave him. Iida looks down at the gems and starts to remember snippets of the events that had conspired a few hours prior. Just how powerful are you? When school continued, Class 1A started reminiscing about Iida and how fast he was, and his hair changing color. It was like an anime. With a wave of his hand, Iida says, "It's no big deal, you guys. Like a hero, I did what I had to protect you all, as I am your class president." Aizawa entered, and the room was silent, and he announced the sports festival will soon be coming. In those times, Iida has been training very hard with the Chaos Emeralds to unlock that form that he was told about before. But after countless attempts, nothing. Time passes, and the day of the sports festival had come. Soon, the foot race begins, and just as the light turns green, Iida outruns everybody. He gets past the robots by doing the tuck and roll technique, he runs past the canyons, and he even gets past the exploding mines before they could even explode. He did all that in a matter of 10 seconds, reaching the finish line. Iida stands there stunned. He did all that without a Chaos Emerald. What is happening to me? Once everyone else finished the race, the adults asked Iida how he was able to move so fast. But Iida had no explanation. He was just naturally fast, even without a Chaos Emerald. After the other competitions, the 1v1 was next, and the fight with Shiozaki was the same, only difference was it was over much more faster. And the same goes with Mei Hatsume. But then, just when Iida is about to go against Todoroki, he was then informed of his brother's situation. Iida watches as the doctors do everything that they can to stabilize his sibling, and after countless hours of agonizingly waiting, the Iida family was informed that he was paralyzed from the neck down. After Iida had talked with his brother, Iida was stunned that he had to take his brother's hero name. And one night, Iida returned to his brother and took the Chaos Emeralds with him, unaware of their potential. As his brother lay there in his bed asleep, Iida said, "Oh, brother, I wish you were better." Iida plants his face into his palms. While he was distracted, the Chaos Emeralds glowed, and suddenly, Tensei starts shaking aggressively. "Brother, what's happening?" Suddenly, Tensei sits up from his bed and aggressively pulls the air pipes from his throat and breathes aggressively. "Hey, Iida, what's happening?" After a few hours of examining Iida's brother, the doctors were shocked to see that he was completely recovered. They were curious about what happened to his wounds, but none of that mattered to Iida. He was just happy that his brother was walking and alive. Iida had thought of seeking out Stain, but as long as Tensei was alright, he was almost willing to let it go. But from the corner of his eye, he could see the Chaos Emeralds, and he looks to them. "Was it you? Did you do this?" Thinking back, his life did change once Sonic gave those emeralds to him. But since Iida doesn't know for sure if there are consequences upon wishing upon the Chaos Emeralds, he vows to not wish upon them again. Iida then returns to school, and his classmates surrounded him in worry of his brother, but Iida informs them that he's alright now. Aizawa gives everyone their applications, and Iida is surprised that he had a lot more than everyone. Because of his display of power, the heroes were pretty much drawn to him. But he had a specific company he wanted, and one night, during a patrol, Iida was in search of Stain. And suddenly, a Nomu flies overhead and tries to snatch up a pedestrian, only for Iida to usher in and get that person to safety. This goes on for a while, until Iida hears the sounds of screams down an alleyway, where the hero killer stood over native Stain. As Stain raises his sword over his head to strike down the native hero, he is stopped when Iida shouted his name and turned his attention to him. But just as he looks, he sees Iida flying towards him in his ball form. Stain was barely able to dodge, and he watches as Iida bounces off the walls and lands. "You're gonna pay for what you did to my brother. Chaos Control!" With one quick blow, Iida bounces himself off the walls once more, and he gets behind Stain, and, doing the spinning dash, he hits him in the back, breaking his spine, paralyzing him from the neck down. Stain, on the ground, grunts and desperately tries to move, but finds that he is unable to. Iida stands over him, anger burning in his eyes. He then lays down a barrage of punches on Stain's face, with blinding speed. After a minute, Iida only stopped to catch his breath, and finally, after letting his brain take in the oxygen, the reality finally set in, and Iida sees the damage that he has done, the irreversible damage. Stain's face was covered in blood and bruises. Iida hovers his ear over Stain's mouth, and nothing. He wasn't breathing. Ida's heart started racing in the realization of an action that he was unable to take back. Iida sits in a cell, staring at the ground, still bewildered of what he had just done. At that moment, the Chaos Emeralds were secured in an evidence locker. Iida was unable to feel them. Ever since that day he took a life, he was disconnected from the Chaos Emeralds and their power. Iida will be taken to court, and in the end, he was free to go, but he will be under house arrest for a long time. Iida sat in the corner of his room, unable to accept his new form of reality, and suddenly he is approached by his brother. "Hey, Tenya, are you okay?" Iida looks to the ground and says nothing. "Listen, little bro, you can't take back what you did, and I can tell that you greatly regret it, and unfortunately, whether you want this to or not, it's going to follow you for the rest of your life. So are you going to sit there and feel bad for yourself forever? Or are you going to get up, learn from your mistake, and start all over again?" Iida continues to sit there in silence, and Tensei reminds Iida that it's never too late to make things right, and that he simply just needs time. And with that advice embedded in Iida's head, he leaves. For a while, Iida lays there, his mind forcing him to relive that moment. And suddenly, it was interrupted by an earthquake. Iida gets outside, and up above, a purple mist appears, and in the midst was the Time Eater, with clock bearings on its back. Iida thinks back to the moment when Sonic mentioned this creature. Does it really have the ability to erase things? Iida quickly gathers the Chaos Emeralds, and with the passion to protect his home, his family, and his friends burning his heart, Iida was able to tap into the super form and found himself flying towards the opposition. Iida floats in the face of the smoky opponent, and the two engaged into battle. Iida delivers blows that causes great pain to the Time Eater. The Time Eater powers up a beam attack and shoots it at Iida, but he dodges in time. Iida sees what looks like scar marks in the sky, with little black and white marks in a straight line. I need to end this fast. I cannot risk it doing that again and striking my city. And so, Iida prepares himself for his final attack. Slowly, Iida's body started to glow with a golden hue, and he charges up his attack. The Time Eater ushers at him, and Iida maneuvers himself in the path of the portal, and the smoky creature moving in front of him. Iida's attack was ready, and he dashes forward, leaving a trail of golden light behind him. And Iida pushes the Time Eater and himself into the portal. Together, the two traveled down the portal, an endless abyss of nothing but an illuminated purple light that shrouded both of them. Iida then separated himself from the Time Eater. The distance between them grew, and soon Iida was all alone, floating in an endless stream of darkness. Slowly, exhaustion took his body, and just when he thinks he's about to pass out, a flashback of his family and friends flooded his mind. And so, Iida tapped into the power one more time and flew forward, breaking the sound barrier, and Iida manages to return to his realm. As Iida plummets back to the ground, somebody spotted his aggressive landing with his pale skin and light blue hair. Iida crawls from the hole that he implanted, every limb in his body shaking. Suddenly, the Chaos Emeralds emerge from his body and drop to the ground. Iida falls to the ground and passes out. Eventually, he opens his eyes and finds himself tied to a chair in a dark room with a singular light overhead. What? What the hell? a familiar figure entered his sight, Shigaraki, with a Chaos Emerald in hand. Shigaraki would interrogate Iida on how he uses the powers of the Chaos Emeralds, but Iida doesn't tell him anything. And so, for the past few days, Shigaraki would have Iida tortured and have him spill the beans of the powers of the Chaos Emeralds. And unfortunately for Iida, there were a few fans of Stain that were dying to get their hands on him, until one day, a knock at the door changed everything. Who the hell is that? Did somebody order a pizza? Suddenly, All Might burst through the door with a large number of other pro-heroes. The heroes would snare the villains and Iida would be rescued, but Iida made sure to grab the Chaos Emeralds before he went, but he couldn't help but notice that something was wrong about them. As Iida was being taken away, he dropped a blue Chaos Emerald, which upon impact shattered. Iida's whole world stopped as shock took his body. Shigaraki laughs out loud and explains that those weren't the real Chaos Emeralds and that All for One has a plan for them. Suddenly, the ground started to shake and crack and everyone is blown back when they regain themselves and see a giant robot, and through its body, Iida can sense chaos energy. And in the center was All for One. He attacks All Might first, while the heroes got Iida out of there. For a while, All for One and All Might battle, but All Might was being bested and he was very much exhausted. The giant robot then battered its fist back and brings it down on All Might. But just before it could connect, Iida runs in and together the giant fist bashes down on both of them. Everyone stares in bewilderment, and suddenly the robot starts to move backwards. When the dust subsided, it showed Iida pushing the robot back. I won't let you hurt him! Suddenly, lights of the Chaos Emeralds threaded into Iida's body, and an aura of multicolors shrouded him. Iida, with one hand, then punches the giant robot back. It lunges at them once more, and Iida delivers an uppercut. And he finishes it off by jumping into the air and doing the wrecking ball technique onto the giant robot's chest, destroying it once and for all. But just when things look like they're okay, the head of the robot explodes and it reveals All for One in what appears to be an exosuit with the Chaos Emeralds built into it. All for One lunges at Iida, delivering a devastating blow that sends him back. All Might comes to his defense, but All for One blocks his attempts with the Chaos Emeralds that sent him flying. Iida sees his opportunity and he runs in and he takes one of the Chaos Emeralds and uses it to take the rest of the emeralds back. Iida then goes super and he takes down All for One. At one point, All for One was on the ground and Iida would start bashing at his face with blinding speed, leaving bruises and blunt force trauma. But then, Iida stops. He refuses to let history repeat itself. And so, he's done. All for One was knocked out. All Might nodded in approval, and just when things looked like they were okay, a purple portal then opened up in the sky, and the Time Eater emerged. Only this time, it was different. Iida notices the Time Eater has changed, and on each parts of its body were prison domes, and inside were colorful creatures. Iida looks closer and he sees Sonic? No, two Sonics? What the... Suddenly, they hear, "Hello there, ladies and gentlemen. We are Dr. Eggman, and we are in search of some precious gems of ours." They look, and they see Iida in his super form. "What the? A human has harnessed the powers of the Chaos Emeralds into his body? Impossible! I shall take this power for myself! The Time Eater then lunges at Iida, but he dodges, flying into the air and breaking through one of the prison domes with the two Sonics. Iida wakes up the Sonics. Iida, is that you? Yes, it is. And if I may ask, why are there two of you? Sonic goes on to explain what happened, telling Iida that the Time Eater somehow stumbled upon their world, and now Eggman is taking control of it. Iida gets the idea to share the Chaos Emerald's power with them, and together they all turn super, bursting through the dome prison. The Eggmans then stare in bewilderment, as there are now not only one super being, but three. Iida and the two Sonics attack the augmented Time Eater, striking it in its weak spots. Iida, seeing the other creatures like Sonic, saw an opportunity to get them out of their prisons. Sonic and his friends cheered them on, so did the people and heroes of Japan. Together, Iida and the Sonics joined hands and spiraled into the final weak spot of the Time Eater. The Time Eater then screams as a blinding light engulfs its body. This cannot be! I was supposed to win this time! It explodes, and it was over. We then transition to Iida returning the Chaos Emeralds to Sonic. Sonic would thank him for his help. It's no problem. And if you ever need help with any world-ending threats, you know where to find me. Sonic smiles, nods in approval, and he and his friends return to their world. And Iida, who was confronted by the heroes, had a lot of explaining to do. A few years pass, and Iida has saved thousands of lives, and that even includes Eri. And one day, he enters All for One's cell and tells him that no matter how many schemes he enables, he will be there to stop him in a flash and his evil endeavors. He smiled. Ah, you've grown, kid. He then gets outside, and a mysterious portal opens in front of him. It was a Sonic portal, but it was Tails on the other side, and he tells Iida that Sonic's in trouble and that his help is needed. Iida smiles as his hair turns a golden hue. And that is going to be the end of this story.